Hey there, it's Scott, startatherapypractice.com. Hope you're having a great day. It's going to be a great week. And today I'm shooting this video on January 6th, which is the feast day of Epiphany on the Christian calendar. And the word Epiphany basically means manifestation. And so you see that the Eastern churches, a lot of the Eastern churches will celebrate Christmas on January 6th, which is Epiphany, which is the day that they celebrate that the three wise men came to see the Christ child. And we don't technically know that there were three wise men, but there were three gifts: gold, frankincense, and myrrh. And so on this day, January 6th, on the feast day of Epiphany, my family has celebrated this with the tradition of giving books to my kids. And so we typically give around 50 books on January 6th every year for the past probably 20 years. Now what that's done is we've got a huge library now. I mean, probably well over 2,000 books we have in my house. And that is such a gift that I can provide for my family because it gives them the great love of reading, which I didn't really grow up with the love of reading. So it brings me back to the point that I want to make in this podcast, in this video, however you're listening to this, watching this. It's a video and a podcast all in one. But anyway, it reminds me of a couple of things. As we go into this new year of 2020, if you're watching this in the future, it doesn't matter. Every day is a new day, right? And I look over through the window beyond my camera and I'm overlooking my garden. Now, it's wintertime right now, so the garden's not doing too much. I went out the other day and I turned some of the soil to loosen it up. I put some plastic covering on it to kill the weeds so the weeds wouldn't show up when I do begin to plant here in a few months. But it's preparation. We have to prepare for this new year, and we do that by seeing what happened the previous year, and we get ready for this new year by creating goals based on the data that we retrieved from the previous year. And I did a reading the other day. It's a book I'm reading. It's daily readings for each day, and it's called Divine Intimacy. And it had a quote in there from a saint, and it said, the saint, I believe it was St. John of the Cross, said, "To possess everything, we must desire to possess nothing." And that I really reflected on that. I mean, what does that mean, to possess everything? We must desire to possess nothing. It goes really back to this day, this feast day of Epiphany, when the wise men from the East come to visit the Christ child. And the Christ child, God in the second person, really divests himself of everything that we can possess everything. But we must desire to possess nothing. From that example of the Christ child, he possesses nothing. I mean, he's really at the whim of those who take care of him. St. Joseph, the Blessed Mother, he's at their whim. He divested himself of everything that we can possess everything. So we really have to go from that example and desire to possess nothing, and to realize that everything that we do have is a gift. And that's why Christ came as the Christ child, as a gift to us. And the example of the wise men giving gifts to the Christ child, we must realize that everything we have materially and our abilities are a gift, and that we are stewards of these gifts. And so we have to make sure that we do the right thing with these gifts. And every day we should reflect on that and keep in our mind that to possess everything, we must desire to possess nothing, and be good stewards of what we do have and spread that around, whether that be material wealth, whether that be abilities, our therapy abilities. We must give of ourselves totally, and then we're going to find that we do possess everything at that point. I was doing a call to an Academy member, so if you're interested in joining the Academy of Private Practice, go to startatherapypractice.com/academy. You can find out more information what that entails. And I got a free webinar coming up startertherapypractice.com/webinars, and you can sign up for that webinar. But I was doing a consult call with an Academy of Private Practice member, and he had some questions for me. One of the questions was about hiring. One of the questions was about work in general. So he was in the process of moving from one state to another state, but he wanted to continue to have a foothold of private practice in the state that he was leaving. And then how that was going to work as far as checking in on that private practice, because probably what he's going to set up is a private practice in multiple states. And I thought that was very exciting, but the thought came to my mind of letting him know that you really have to be careful of the precedent that you're setting, the precedent of how your employees are going to view you in each of those locations and what you're setting up. Are they going to view you as the absent business owner and they can get away with whatever they want because the business owner is 3 states away or whatever? So you really have to set the precedent of how often you're going to check in, and think about things that you're putting in place right now for your private practice and the precedent of expectations that either those who work for you or those that you're treating are going to view that as. Because if you set a precedent that's very high and demanding of your time, it's hard to pull back from that and have those who are benefiting from that understand why you're doing that. Whereas if you set the expectations a little bit lower and then ramp it up as you have the time, as you have the means, that adds value. So you want to add value, not take away value, and set that precedent and be mindful of what precedent you're setting, what expectations you're setting on the front end. And that way you can add value over time instead of subtracting value over time. That's not going to be a good thing to subtract that value. The other suggestion or insight that I wanted to convey to this Academy member was your business is there to serve your family. And this was a young man, and he's married, and they're going to have kids eventually. So we have to remind ourselves that the business can easily take over our life. And when you're splitting time like he was planning on doing in multiple states, or you have multiple clinics, locations, whatever, you have to think about, is this serving my family? Because first and foremost, it has to serve the family, because if not, you're going to get 10, 15, 20 years down the road and your family's going to be in shambles. And that is not the reason to start a private practice or any business at all. You don't want to get 10, 15, 20 years down the road and it's just you and the business, because you've left your family in the dust and you've just kind of ruined your life. That's not what I'm trying to get across here. Just the opposite, that your business is there to serve the family. So the decisions that you're making on the front end, how is that going to impact the family you have now, the family that you're going to have in 5, 10 years if you don't have kids right now? It's a totally different feel, a totally different look when kids come on the scene. I promise you that. I've got 6 of my own, and we're fixing to go up here and open some Epiphany gifts of books, but I have time to do that in my family because I've set some things in place in my private practice. That's the message I wanted to get across to you in this beginning of this new year, or any time of the year, really. So if you have any questions, email me, scott@startertherapypractice.com. Be sure to go over and sign up for the free webinar, startertherapypractice.com/webinars, and subscribe to the podcast, subscribe to the YouTube channel, and just reach out and let me know what you're up to. All right, it's going to be a great day, going to be a great week, going to be a great year. I just know it. Let me know what you're up to. And until next time, Godspeed to you in your private practice.